Well, hello again. It's Liam from Unique Cars and Parts, and I've got Robert, and I've got to say, I'm assuming a 1923 Fiat. I know very little about vintage cars, and I know even less about vintage Fiat cars, but there's quite a remarkable number of vehicles here, but this one is absolutely outstanding, and I've taken some shots of the side of it. This thing is in remarkable condition. Robert, you must be very proud of it.
It's yes, we are. We spend a lot of time polishing it and cleaning it, and it's very friendly to drive. So we use it quite a lot.
Quite a lot. So it doesn't just sit in the garage and come out once a year. When by quite a lot, how many times a year do you get it out?
Probably about 40 or 45 times a year.
Wow, that's almost every weekend.
Well, that's the club. I'm on a club permit of 45, and once a week, even if you just drive it to work.
You drive this to work through peak hour traffic.
Yes, yeah, and occasionally to work on a good day.
And unlike the taxi next door, this looks like it's got wheels on the front wheel and the back.
A little bit of a story about that. It originally did not have front wheel brakes,
and we've just learnt that it's got an add-on from a later year Fiat, so it's got front brakes, and you use it 45 times a year.
Yeah, about that. Sometimes it's a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less.
I just overheard you talking to another gentleman. You've got another Fiat, is that right?
I've got three, a 25, this is a 23, a 21, and I'm hankering to put together a 1919, which will be the first Fiat 501 in Australia. But I haven't got enough bits for it yet.
Yes. Okay, so you've obviously got a bit of a fascination for Fiats. Why Fiat of all the different?
No real reason. I found myself with a garage which ranged from Rolls-Royce and Panhard Levasseur, Dodge, Chev, and to keep the spare parts for these vehicles just became an absolute nightmare. So this one was my favourite, and I thought, well, rationalisation, and the other thing, as you get older, you wonder where these vehicles will ever finish up after I've gone. So it's rationalisation.
Well, I'm sure it's going to find good hands, because who wouldn't want something like this? Now, as I was filming around the side of the vehicle, I noticed that this had spokes, and I was speaking to the owner of the taxi next door. We had a bit of a discussion about whether steel or solid wheels were a more expensive option than spoked wheels, but these spoked wheels, to me, look like they're made of metal.
These, this is the Sankey pattern of wheel. And Fiat adopted that, and it's really a very simple wheel to make. It's two tin pressings that are put together, and then around each spoke was gas welded, and of course there was a rim, there was a metal ring that went in that held the tyre in.
Easy to manufacture back then, but there's no way they'd be going to that sort of labour-intensive welding each wheel these days.
Not today.
So everything in perspective. So it comes out 45 times a year, and you drive it to work. How many kilometres do you drive it to work?
Oh, I live about 5 kilometres from the factory that I own.
So not too far. And do you find that modern day drivers give you enough space, given you got less braking capacity than they have?
No, I'd leave early, and I will come home early before the mob's on the road.
Come home after. I'm assuming, therefore, that these lights give you enough illumination?
I'm always home in daylight.
If you did get stuck out at night, would you be able to see the road?
Oh yes, they're actually quite good. And the dynamo will keep up with the electricity, and yes, they're quite good lights.
And have you had any issues? Has it ever let you down? You've been on the side of the road, because I can't imagine, we're at an RACV display day, but I can't imagine the RACV being able to come out and fix this readily for you.
One of the early problems was floaties in the petrol tank, little bits of rust and stuff, which would intermittently stop the flow of fuel, and then they would fall away and the thing would run beautifully again, and they're real buggers to find. And the only answer is to take the tank off and wash it and get rid of them.
And this was stuff that came out of the tank itself. Was it just had started to rust internally, had it?
It had, and then the answer to that was to have it lined with a very special paint, which just locked everything together and filled up the leaks and weeps and made a very good tank out of it.
Well, Robert, thanks for taking 5 minutes out of your day to have a chat to us about the, I believe the model is the 501C. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's 501 is the model. The C is the Colonial. For India, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and for the wider track. And the story there is that the T model Ford had, their wheels were about 4 inches or 100 millimetres wider than the European Fiat wheel track. And in Australia, where the roads were rutted, you had problems staying in the ruts. So the answer to that was to widen the track so that you could take your hands off the steering wheel and it'd follow the ruts.
Okay.
And also the tram tracks.
So I've learned something. The C designates Colonial.
Colonial, yeah.
And we on Australia Day here, we are Colonials, I guess.
Yeah, we are Colonials. So that it's commonly called a C or wide track. All the earlier models and models that came, the 1921 I've got is a narrow track. But it's this rut thing that was the problem. The wheel tracks of the Model T Ford.
Okay. Well, thanks again, Robert. It's been fantastic. I've learnt an awful lot. With this video or any of the other videos on our YouTube channel, please give us a subscribe, and don't forget to check out the website www.uniquecarsandparts.com.au. Thank you, and thank you, Robert. Thank you, mate. Bye-bye.